The views and opinions in the following program remain those of the producer or sponsor, and not those of Medford Community Cablevision, its staff, management, board of directors, or other affiliates.
Hi everybody, we're back on TV3 tonight with another evening of the Pet Network. Tonight we're going to be talking, we have a special guest on tonight. Obviously I'm Marie Mazzeo with Kitty Connection, and we have a guest to talk about a situation that's been going on in Medford for a couple of weeks now. And since my name is Marie, why don't we call our guest Mary? So tonight is going to be Mary and Marie. Is that fine, guest?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So what happened about over a week ago, I received a phone call from Mary that she needed some help with a situation that was going on her property that she doesn't live on, but she had been contacted, and the situation also involved some cats. So what I'd like to do is introduce Mary and let her tell us how she came about and what brought her to Kitty Connection. Mary, could you tell us what made you call me and what brought you to need the help of Kitty Connection?
Oh, the house inspector. He asked my brother how many cats he had. And my brother told him, and he said, well, why don't you contact Kitty Connection? And I think it was Pat Hogan that told John, the housing inspector, John, what's it?
I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but John B. we'll call him.
Okay, John B. And so I go, well, that's a good idea. And I called you, and you were very helpful and very understanding about the situation, and trying to resolve it and everything. So
what brought John to your property to begin with? John obviously would not be the one called to your property for animals. They would have contacted Pat if you were having an animal program. So why did John come to your property?
Oh, the neighbor next, one of our neighbors complained that the chimney, the red brick she found in her driveway came up, it fell off our chimney.
Okay.
So he came down. And when he came down, he checked out the porch. He saw the porch needed to be repaired. And he also could smell pneumonia in the backyard. So Friday he had sent. And
that was what day?
Friday was Friday before 4th of July. 4th of July there.
Okay.
And we got the letter on Friday.
Okay, and this is going back to the 4th of July.
Right, 4th of July was on Monday.
Okay.
So the letter stated that there was bricks in the neighbor's driveway, and he noticed that the porch needed repair, the bottom part of the porch, and he also could smell some pneumonia in the backyard.
And obviously, that smell was obviously there because there were multiple cats in the household, so that prompted him to tell you to contact us.
Yes.
And the first call that Kitty Connection did receive was from your brother. And a message was left on the phone that he needed help with cats. And it was an emergency, and he needed to hear from somebody right away. In the meantime, I took the call, I was working on something else. And one of our volunteers, I asked her if she could check into this. And Judy then contacted Mary's brother, and this is where it proceeded. He started to tell Judy that there was some cats that needed to be removed, a low number, then the number went higher. And I think this is actually what kind of became a confusion with the different people that were contacting you, right, Mary? Because the number kept changing, and right now we still don't have an accurate on a number.
Yes. And John would say, well, that's not the number of cats. I told him how many. And then when I was talking to an official, they would say that a way larger number than actually was.
Okay, okay. And what happened is, I mean, I know your brother was really nervous and scared, and he was leaving tons of messages on Judy's cell phone, and there were tons of messages on the Kitty Connection line. He gave me your phone number, and I assured you not to worry and that you didn't have to leave a lot of messages because we were definitely going to help you. What I was trying to do is give you and your brother some consolation that we were going to help. And we started to work out some sort of an action plan that we were going to move forward with. Right, Mary, on removing the cats and how we were going to do this.
Oh, that's true, absolutely.
Okay. And then, so when I started getting the phone calls on Tuesday and Wednesday, there seemed to be more urgency. Your brother had called, and for some reason he became fearful in his messages that he was going to go to jail. And what prompted that feeling?
He was just getting upset about the thing because about the house and everything, and I don't know, so many different people were contacting us.
How many, so basically you got the letter on the 4th. You had already been visited by John. How many other contacts were made at that point?
Well, I think he got a phone call from Pat Hogan, I'm sure, or I was told to call Pat Hogan. I know I was either told or left a message on my cell phone.
Okay.
And the building inspector, I went by the house, and I seen these two gentlemen out in the front talking, and when I pulled in the driveway, and I asked, can I help you? And they introduced me. John introduced me as the building inspector, and he was with a gentleman from Boston Housing or something. He was there to help. He was case management.
And what was that person's name?
I can't think of it right now.
It was a social worker? Is that what?
Well, he introduced me as case management.
Jesse?
Yes, Jesse, that's the name.
Okay. So sometimes in a situation like this where there's anticipation of a lot of cats, they may suspect hoarding, and they'll sometimes consult and want to bring in a hoarding counselor because they have much more experience in knowing how to handle situations like this and counseling families and people that do have hoarding disabilities. So, right. And that's probably why Jesse was there. Did you actually talk to Jesse, or?
Oh yes, he introduced himself to me.
Did they go in the house at that time?
No, they did not. And Johnny was on the impression, my brother was on the impression that we'd have 2 weeks to deal with this. And then after that, the next thing I believe he got a phone call and saying that they wanted to come into the house.
Okay. And I think that's, once again, when I heard from you, Mary, on Friday, because you were very nervous that something was happening, and I actually called John and left a message at City Hall that that Kitty Connection had contacted you, and that I wanted him to know that we were, in fact, networking with other rescue organizations and setting arrangements up for the removal of the cats. And again, I left my name and phone number for him to call me. So Mary, I know when we talked over the weekend, I tried to give you that assurance that everything was going to be okay, and then you were frantic because you felt like you had a lot of stuff that needed to be discarded. And we talked about how when there's a lot of cats and they have feces and urine on the floors and couches and furniture, that stuff really needs to be discarded, completely discarded. And sometimes in cases, even washing the floors isn't going to be enough. And yep. you were concerned, you wanted to, we talked about you getting a dumpster, and then you were concerned that you didn't think you should get a dumpster?
Well, he suggested that I could save money if I just got a truck or something, and someone, somebody that removes trash and debris and stuff. So I just went ahead because I just wanted to get it over with and do the right thing. So I just went ahead and they were coming in Tuesday, so I just went ahead and ordered the dumpster anyways.
But originally they were coming in on Monday.
Yes, and he told me, because I talked to him, and he I guess everybody was getting the story differently, because John told me he had 2 weeks, and so we figured we could clean the mess up and everything, and then, you were going to help us out, because they're the ones that told us about you in the first place.
And I do know that you felt you had a longer time, because when I made the arrangements and the plans with the veterinarians, we picked Wednesday as the day that we would remove all of the cats from the premises. And based on, past experiences and recommendations that had been given to me when there's a large removal of cats from hoarding situations or where accumulations of cats happen, that the best to prevent disease is to get everything out. I never entered the home at any time, Mary, because my concern was I was afraid of there being an infectious disease because your cats were mainly indoors, the ones that you had kept in certain rooms.
Oh, that's true.
Mary, tell us, how did you, I know I discussed...
Well, there was one more thing, too.
Yeah?
John thought he had 2 weeks, and when I talked to John, the housing inspecting, he did say that he never told him that. So I
Right.
don't know, miscommunication. Like I said, I heard 3 different numbers that they said we had of cats, so...
And I remember, and that's what prompted me, you were very concerned and upset that you thought you had 2 weeks, and I actually even called John. You gave me his phone number, and I called John with you from my cell phone and talked to John on a Sunday, seeing if we could get an extension. I know he was planning on going in there on Monday. He gave you an extension till Tuesday. I asked him to give you an extension till Wednesday because that was my plan, to get all of the cats out of your home. And John felt that, he had extended the time long enough. When I was talking to you, Mary, and part of our educational process, I told you that your situation was a prime example of why I felt it was important to have a spay-neuter ordinance for the city. Can you tell us how you started accumulating these cats? You don't fall into the typical hoarding situation because you were very receptive to us coming in, which I told you I didn't want to come in. You were very receptive to us taking cats. As a matter of fact, the first set of cats were taken out on Sunday. You did the trapping, and a free trap, neuter, and release clinic was on Sunday, and a volunteer took those cats. There are certain individuals that do independent trap, neuter, and release, and she graciously took these cats to be spayed and neutered, and they would be able to go to the sanctuary and not return back to Mary. So that's pretty much how we started.
That's true.
Okay. And I know Mary was very gracious. We were able to get some pictures. Could we have the blue top picture come up on our TV screen? The purpose of this is, obviously, Mary's brothers wanted to do some work, so they opened the foundation, and this foundation has been open for a number of years. So one of the problems in trying to rectify this problem of cats, which I had pointed out to Pat Hogan when we met on Tuesday, was the fact that the cats from outside do have access to get into the home. So regardless that every single cat has been removed and vetted, we did find today, Mary, when you were doing some of the final trapping that we anticipated would happen today, that there are possibly some other cats because they are running from inside and outside.
Oh, that's true.
okay? There's the possibility that even though a lot of, the majority of the cats aren't going to go back, and that we had agreed that some cats will go back until they may go into a sanctuary or be adopted into other homes, and of course, you'll keep some, Mary. The fact remains that many cats can still continue to get inside the home.
Oh, sure, there's plenty of cats over in that neighborhood because of the college students and people, teach. There's all, people just live there for a short period of time and move out. I mean, we've had neighbors, one neighbor across the way, she left her cat, she sold her house and just left it.
And this is actually how you started taking in the cats, Mary, not that you would see these strays, you started feeding them. What happened? How did you start accumulating all these cats?
Oh, there was this one cat I call Harry, and I'm not sure where he came from, but he was going over to next door neighbor, and I thought he lived on the third floor. I'm not sure, maybe not. But anyways, he was on the porch, and they had dogs over there, and they were like nipping at him and stuff, So I kind of felt bad for him, and so and then he would come on my porch, So and I saw him one day sunbathing, So I felt bad for him, and I gave him some food. Well, the trouble with that is when you start to feed one, next thing I know, this kitten shows up with her mother, and you could tell the mother was a feral cat. I mean, she had long hair, but she was like sickly looking and really poor health to me, And that kitten was so hungry. That kitten never left my porch. And then one kitten followed Harry to my porch, and so that's where it all started.
And when these cats first started showing up, you were actually taking and vetting these cats yourself.
Yes, I was. I did. I spaded and neutered 5 of them.
And what happened? You were telling us, you actually told the other volunteer, Judy, that you got. What made you stop vetting the cats?
Well, every time I would go and do that, right, they would say that you would be put on a list. I got kind of confused. I thought it was, because if you took a cat in, an older cat, and it wasn't had a rabies shot, right? They send it to the Board of Health or something.
The animal control is notified every time there's rabies.
I thought, well, Pat explained to me what the list is anytime an animal gets a rabies shot, he gets a copy of that. Because they told me you had to quarantine the cat because it was a stray.
And this is when you were going to the vet.
Right. So I had went to different vets. So I got nervous about that because, you see those shows on TV about hoarders. And, and I'm going, well, if I keep on taking more than 5 or 7 to the vet, someone's going to come knocking at my door.
So, Mary, I'm correct in telling everybody the one thing that you did, thank God, is that when you became afraid to seek out veterinary care for these cats, you at least knew that they would reproduce. And what you did was you put the male cats all in one room and female cats in another room. And then, of course, there was that occasional accident or that cat that maybe came in pregnant that had kittens.
Well, there was a few pregnant cats out in the yard, that we brought in. Well, there was one, she was living out in the yard, and that was like 3 years ago when I guess the woman complained about cats back then. And what happened is I said to Johnny, you better take him in. And the mother cat ended up getting hit by a car.
Yeah, and that's what happens to a lot of cats, too.
So we have a garage, and I know there used to be a garage on Winchester Street, and the guy was always finding a mother cat with kittens all the time.
Okay. So basically, when you were told by John to call Kitty Connection, were you surprised? Did you even realize that there was an organization out there to help you with animals?
I knew there was organizations, but I always, it's usually about adopting animals. It's not really about what do you do. You
didn't know that there were organizations that would help you with low-cost spaying and neutering or trapping and neutering and
Yeah, you
releasing
did,
them back
but
outside.
if you ended up like 10 or 15, and you go, oh boy, you're going to get in trouble, because you see the stories on TV all the time,
The thing is, the important thing and part of the educational process of Kitty Connection, what we're trying to teach the public, is there are so many cats that roam the streets, and many people besides you, Mary. And the purpose of the show is that if there is anybody out there watching the show and you're in this situation, you want to reach out. Sometimes it's almost obvious that there's problems. Your nightmare started, Mary, because of this brick that was found, assumed to have fallen from your chimney, and every single day since that incident seems to have been extremely stressful. Not only are you dealing with this, but you are taking care of a sick mother. You don't live in the house, so you take care of a sick mother. You have a disabled brother that you also help and care for. So this was extreme pressure on you.
Oh, yeah, and we didn't get any sleep. I mean, one night I had an hour, and I don't even know what I had before that. The next night it was only like 2 hours. We were up all night filling the dumpster. We wanted to comply. We were ready, to do this and get it over with,
Right.
I just wanted to make sure the animals, went to good homes and people could take care of them. I just didn't want them to seem destroyed.
Right. And I can understand Mary's pressure because even for me, I have been in many, many situations where there is a lot of pressure. And sometimes when officials come in, regardless of what local organizations are doing, many a small animal rescue league is big, and the MSPCA is big, so they can do large-scale rescues. Sometimes what happens, large-scale rescues, as yours, Mary, when this number of cats are taken away, there were some that were starting to come down with upper respiratory infection, and they were removed and vetted, and people were really great as we networked this plan of action, that if any of them were sick, there were different people willing to take these sick kitties. Again, some that went to barns, sanctuaries, people that came forward to just take cats that may need homes, and others that were willing to temporarily hold on to them, some willing to hold on for Mary to see if Mary would be able to take them home and at what point. So a lot of networking was done. But I felt the pressure myself, Mary, because my hope, and you did tell me that we had 2 weeks, and I tried to explain to people that I set it up with our veterinarian that we were going to remove, and she was willing to start spaying and neutering that morning and go right straight through to when that last cat that we took out was done. And again, this was all arranged to prevent the spread of disease. When we knew that that we didn't have Wednesday, and that people were going to go in, I felt it was best to start to remove the cats so we could get as many out and start the process going on Monday, and that's what we did. And at that time, Mary, I think you felt that your neighbors called because Pat Hogan, was that the first time that Pat Hogan had showed up to your house, or was he there once before? That Monday?
I believe that was the first time, and I think I got a phone call on my services. He wanted to talk to me.
Okay, and he not only showed up by himself, but he was also with the law enforcement officer from the Animal Rescue League.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and there were people that came forward as volunteers to help Mary get these cats that were scheduled to go to the vet on Monday to the vet. And so obviously everybody was confronted at the same time, because I think when some of, I'm trying to think, the woman that had come back to get the sick cats was confronted by, Pat was there, and another volunteer was there as well, and Pat did approach them.
Right.
And did you talk to Pat at that time?
Oh, yes, I did. And I explained to him we were getting the cats out, and we had most of them out. And he said, you know, he says, well, that's good and everything. And he says, well, if you need any help trapping, he says, I'd be more than willing to help you trap them. And
Yeah.
I said, no, I said, that's okay. I said, we got everything under control, and, you know, we're going to remove every single cat from the house.
And there were a few times that you were concerned. You called me too, because you said that they told you that Kitty Connection wasn't able to help you, that they had left a message on your answering machine.
Yes, that's what I couldn't understand. They're the ones that led us to you, and then they kept on calling saying that, you know, that she couldn't handle that many, you know, cats or whatever. I said, well, she has a lot of organizations, and there's different, you know, different organizations involved, you know.
One of the fascinating things that I find with the animals and helping animals, that there are so many people out there. There's tons and tons of small rescue organizations, and they develop because many people that love animals have a different philosophy. So they, you know, when they want to promote the philosophies that they believe in, they like me, start their own animal rescue organization and learn sometimes through trial and error. And I explained to Pat my plan stemmed from a trial and error with the hoarding situation on Spring Street Extension. And then Mary, even when the process was going, and John on Tuesday did go through your home as he wanted to do.
Right.
Pat Hogan also went through your home.
Right.
And then on Tuesday afternoon, you contacted me, very upset because before I left, after everybody left your yard, you said to me you were so relieved, and I could see the relief in your eyes and your face, and you were more exhausted than me, but all the volunteers were tired from working on this. But you said, I'm finally going to get a good night's sleep.
Right.
And later that afternoon, you called me frantic that now, at the time, you had said that they left a message that it was the health inspector was coming on Wednesday.
Right. The next day, the sanitation.
Okay, so it actually
John thought it was house, Board of Health.
Okay.
And then I looked it up, and I realized it was sanitation.
Yeah. And again, you were so distressed because you thought when John and Pat left that your distress over this whole situation was over, and you felt like the nightmare was going on.
Yeah, that, you know, we start resolving the problem. We're trying to resolve the problem. And I don't know, just new things keep on popping up, you know.
And one of the things that I find, you know, is that when you're dealing in situations like this, it is very intimidating. You're scared. You don't know what. I know your brother called several times afraid that he was going to go to jail because of this. And I told him that he wasn't going to go to jail. And you kept asking me a number of times what's going to happen. So you were frightened for a number of days.
Oh, yeah, because the time was so I mean, we got the letter on
Mary,
Friday.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
We can take calls, 781-395-5024. And we do have a call, Mary. So let's take this call.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, my name is Ashley. And I just wanted to let Mary know how much I feel for her and her situation.
Thank you for calling, Ashley.
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems really sad how much pressure you've been under and how you've been trying to help the animals. And it just seems awful that you ended up the situation you did when you tried to do so good.
Ashley, lots of people get themselves in this situation because they mean well and they want to help an animal. And as Mary said, they start to feed and they don't realize how many start to follow.
Right. It's just sad that there are so many cats out there that need homes and that need to be fed.
And that's why so many are euthanized every day, and why I'm really trying, very, very strongly to get a spay-neuter ordinance passed. As a matter of fact, it was, Pat Hogan and Karen Rose are supportive. One of our holdups are enforcement, but I was really surprised that, they are able to get other ordinance passed quite quickly.
I was watching the council meeting last night, and someone did come up. I saw you on it.
Oh, really?
I'm a Medford voter, so I like to watch what's going on. And someone came up with for some dog park, or there's some park they want to keep the dogs out of, and they didn't even have a complete thing of what they wanted. The wording was off, and it seemed within minutes this ordinance was passed, so it didn't even have correct wording in it. And I know from watching how difficult it's been for you to try to get your ordinance passed.
Yes, I did. I actually, as exhausted as I was, I went to this meeting because of that ordinance. And again, part of what they're promoting and talking about dog feces was, using the need for an ordinance because of cat feces and urine from unneutered male cats that is constantly being sprayed and left on people's property. I was amazed. I actually want to ask, Brianna Lungo, one of our city councilwomen, has been wonderful. And a lot of times when I have different questions or concerns, I've shot her an email. And I was baffled. I don't know if I missed something that this ordinance might have been debated and I might have missed it, but as you said, I was really surprised that everybody voted to accept this ordinance when there were a lot of questions, and I found it amazing that so many people could be supportive, and yet we couldn't have the support of the council, or everybody on the council, or a majority on the council for a spay-neuter ordinance. But thank you, Ashley. Do you have any other questions for Mary?
Mary, how do you see this going forward, and do you have hope?
Well, I hope so. She's fabulous, okay? She's very understanding. She's helped me out a lot, and I would like to see that go forward, that audience, because you really do need it. You can be driving down the street, you see so many cats running across in front of cars and everything. I mean, the population is like really out of control. I mean, you feed one cat, and next thing you know, there's a lot of cats coming in. There's a lot of cats that are hungry out there, and I think it's really sad. What are you going to do? Not feed a poor animal? I mean, they really belong in the house with an owner. Not just running around. People shouldn't be, getting a cat. I didn't go adopt a cat. I didn't buy a cat, okay? I had a cat that passed away in 1988. It was a long-haired Persian cat. I had it for like 13 years. That's the only cat I ever bought in my whole life, But we always had cats because you would always find them, but not to this extent. So it seems like when we were growing up, we'd have like 3 cats or something. You find one at your door. My mother raised a mother and 5 of her kittens, and they lived to be 17, 18 years old before they passed away, But now it seems like you put food out, there's a lot of cats. And there was a woman that came around, and I helped her catch some cats, and there was this long beautiful black cat, and she says, the cats around here are very friendly. And she started talking to neighbors. There's a lot of people feeding the cats. But the trouble is, like she says, they're multiplying like rabbits, Yeah,
it seems to be a larger issue in the town of Medford. The dogs seem to be holding importance more, but dogs don't live as long as cats, and cats are reproducing a lot longer, and I would think spaying and neutering them would be a priority for the town.
Yeah, well, I would want to think so too, but it's really interesting because it was brought to my attention in this situation that, and maybe what we should do is put a call into Mike McGlynn, because I was told in this situation here that Mike is not a supporter of trap, neuter, and release. So, Ashley, if you have anything else to say, please talk to us about it. Otherwise, I think keep listening, and maybe we'll make a phone call to Mike McGlynn.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck, Mary.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. I do have one more thing. I did call the animal control about, at first, when I first was Harry, right?
Yeah.
I said, there's a lot of strays. When the kittens were coming up, and I noticed some in the backyard. And this was back in 2001, somewhere around there. And I was told, the gentleman was very nice, very personal. And he said to me, he says, I says, there's a lot of cats around here, and, they're starving or something. They don't belong to anybody. And he told me, he says, yeah, he says, but if I go around picking up all these cats, he says, I wouldn't know, a stray cat from, somebody that owned the cat. Mm. And he said the best thing to do is not feed him, because then they'll die and they'll get disease. And that to me is cruel, because if they stay out, and maltreat, that's what's going to happen.
Absolutely, and it's a terrible and a sad way for an animal to live out there. I mean, sad stories. Look at our website for some of the stories of what's happened to abandoned cats. If anybody would like to call into our show, please do. 781-395-5024. One of the things, again, getting back to even how Mary felt with intimidating, can we show some of the shots of Mary, of, the property? Okay, so this is one shot, and if you look closely, you can see that the stairs are pretty deteriorated. It's amazing because postal inspectors really do not have to deliver if there's a dog that's scaring them, if you're in the winter, if your walk isn't shoveled. I mean, that is passable, but again, clearly noticeable deterioration. Can we see the next picture? And I want everybody to know that Mary was gracious to let our Kitty Connection photographer go there and photo these pictures. Can we go to our next photo? Okay, and I think this is showing that there was some deterioration up in, not a carpenter, but fascia boards up there. That's the word I'm looking for. But you'll see better if you go to the next picture. Okay, I mean, this is the front. This is clearly visible from the outside that these fascia boards are being held up to the house. Okay, can we see the next one? Okay, complete deterioration, access to any animals, squirrels, anything that could be getting into the house. Clearly you can see that, and Mary, I'm going to ask you, and I know that I did ask you this isn't something that's just happened in the past year. This is a visible condition that the public and police officers, inspectors have probably seen for a number of years. And nobody has ever thought to knock on your door, to want to do an inspection. Yet, when they finally did knock on your door, it was like all of a sudden something had to be done. Nobody cared how you were living for how many years, but now all of a sudden time was of the essence.
Yeah.
And the pressure that somebody would feel. Picture if you were living in this situation and you had the city knocking on your door, you would feel a lot of pressure. I know myself, other than I have to deal with a lot of situations. Again, when I go back to that hoarding situation, dealing with the Massachusetts Department of Agriculture, people that have a lot of authority and control, they ordered a cease and desist at that time when we were doing Kitty Connection because of an outbreak of panleukopenia. So, the average person is going to get very intimidated when I met with Pat Hogan on Tuesday, Pat was talking to me, and he was a little disturbed that some of the volunteers there, when he went to speak to them, one, he said didn't want to speak to him. Another contradicted some information. Again, I coordinated. I wasn't a volunteer that actually went to the house. I think the first time I actually went to your house, Mary, was after hanging up with John on Sunday, because he asked me if I had gone, and I said no, that I hadn't. And, I just figured let me go and check the outside so I could see what we're dealing with. But, again, do we have a call? Okay, please give us a call, 781-395-5024. But Pat told me that the concern was that this was a criminal investigation, and that basically the volunteers not speaking to him were withholding evidence and were committing a felony. And that if I didn't cooperate and give him evidence and information that he needed, which there's no reason why I wouldn't give them to him, that would be a felony against me as well. So, again, Kitty Connection does have an attorney, and I did explain to Pat that no volunteer of Kitty Connection is able to discuss Kitty Connection business. We have an attorney that represents Kitty Connection, and if anybody has any questions or concerns about our business, our operation, the person that speaks for us is our attorney. And our attorney is fully aware, from my experience in the past, of what we are doing, especially when we're involved in big rescues like this, because Big Brother is watching, and I do know that, and I do respect and understand why they are. Okay? So why don't we try calling Mike McGlynn? Let's see if we can get the mayor in, because I definitely have to make an appointment with the mayor, because I think it's really important that we talk about TNR, and I think we have a phone call. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I was calling to speak to Marie on the Pet Network.
Yes, this is Marie.
Oh, okay. It's not matched up. Yeah, I'm calling because I heard the previous caller, Ashley, had mentioned about the dog park at the city council meeting last night.
Yes.
And I have actually been working with some other people in Medford on a little committee on trying to get a dog park set up in Medford.
Okay, and I mentioned that too at the city council meeting.
Yeah, we've met a few times. One of the major issues we've run into is they managed to raise about $5,000, but now that they've looked into the cost of the fencing and aerating the ground to deal with the pet urine and runoff, the cost of it was going to be at least $200,000.
What figure did you say? 250?
Yeah, at least $200,000 for the bare minimum.
Okay.
Most likely more than that. I believe the new dog park that just is been started in Arlington was going to run around $500,000.
Wow. Why? Why so much money? $500,000. Is it? How big is the area?
I'm not sure the square footage, but the most expensive part is the fencing. You got to pay for the actual fence, and then for somebody to put it up, because it has to totally surround it, and the ground has to be aerated so that it can handle all of the urine. And
when you're talking aerated, you mean for the drainage?
Right, and those are absolute requirements. And then another issue we're running into is assuming people actually do pick up after their dogs and they throw it in the trash bins, the city of Medford is going to have to arrange for somebody at least once, preferably twice a day, to go by and empty out those trash cans.
Okay, so I'm sure that, again, even just watching the city council meeting last night, and everybody's concerned about the budget and everything, that's something that I'm sure isn't going to happen. We're all wondering how we're going to enforce the ordinance. And it was interesting, too, because going back to even Ashley, when they talked about enforcing the new ordinance for Wrights Pond, they said that they could appoint people that work at Wrights Pond to issue citations. So it's amazing how they can find a way to issue citations when city official or people that actually work for the city want to find a way to issue citations. So, but thank you very much for calling, and if you're watching, please keep watching because we're going to call Mike McGlynn right now.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to give Mike a call. And if you'd like to call in, our number is 781-395-5024. Mary, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, I want to thank you.
You know that I mean, I'm going to work with you till right to the end. We're going to be together for a long time.
That's true.
Because we have TNR to do.
Right.
You know, trap, neuter, and release. Again, if everybody remembers that blue top, and again, something that I want to tell everybody, Mary has actually paid. She is paying for every cat that has been removed for the spaying, the neutering, all of the veterinary care. If anybody would like to make a donation to help Mary with that expense, please, you can send a donation to the Mary Assistance to make it out to Kitty Connection. And your donation will go towards Mary's vet bill. In helping these cats. Many of them could use a home. So again, Pat made it clear, and we can understand why, and Mary understands that too, that, you know, a lot of the cats need to be rehomed. Some are older cats too. And our hope is that those are the ones that we will put back at Mary's, because a kitten season, even a 6-month-old is too old. Can't believe Mike doesn't have an answering machine. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just have to call City Hall tomorrow and try to set up a meeting, and maybe I can tell you the results on our next show. That'll be early August. Okay? Why don't we try calling Mark Arena? Mark, I did contact Mark about this situation. Mark is new on the city council, and again, I want to make him aware of what's going on in Medford, the ordinance, the importance of the ordinance. Can we please have the blue top brought up again? Because again, this is what is so important. People don't even realize if you have a broken window in your basement, cracks in your foundation, and we've got a caller. Hello.
Hey, Marie, Jim Morse.
Hey, Jim. Thank you for calling.
How are you?
Good, good. You left the council meeting early last night.
Yeah, I came home and watched it till 11 o'clock.
Well, that's good. I knew you were there for the water, but it was carrying on too long.
Yeah, well, it's past my bedtime.
What can I do for you, Jim? Thanks for calling.
Listen, we were going to walk down there and bring Storm to the station, but all the thunderstorms set in. We want to bring him down and show him to people. Can we do that?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I guess that's up to TV3 because I think we're getting close to, but run him down. This is a beautiful dog that's coming into Kitty Connection that's up for adoption. And if Jim doesn't get down here fast enough for everybody to meet Storm, you can go to the Kitty Connection website, www.kittyconnection.net. We have 10 minutes left, Jim, so if you can get Storm down here, that would be wonderful.
No, it's too late now. We're all settled in for the evening, but if not tonight, hopefully maybe by next week. Check with TV3 and see if we can bring this monster 190-pound dog in there who is just a lovey.
He is. I met him. I went and checked him out to see if Kitty Connection was going to be able to rehome him. His owner is sick and going through chemotherapy and unable to take care of him. Storm is a thoroughbred mastiff. So, I mean, I think I was looking at Storm in the eyes, wasn't I, Jim?
Yeah, he's
a big boy, but a gentle giant.
Yeah, he cost $3,500. I saw him run today. Let me tell you, he can move. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, but he's just, everyone loves him, you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely, I'm sure DM will do something. Maybe what we could try to do is if there's a little free TV time, we can show some of the cats and Storm and Jim, I know you do a lot with the camera. Maybe we could take some pictures of some of Mary's cats that really could use homes.
Of course, I always do that. We can do videos, and we were going to try to do a video of Storm, and all of a sudden the clouds came in and the thunder and lightning, so we all booked. But yeah, I do a lot of videos. That's no problem.
Okay,
Photos
well,
and videos. You can count on me for that. You know that.
That's great. Mary will really be happy about that because these cats all meant a lot to her. And as I said, Jim, did you hear when I said Mary actually is paying for the whole veterinary bill?
Yeah, what's the cost? Have you got a total yet?
Nope. I will get a printout next week, and again, when you're looking at the fact that outdoor cats came into the house, they brought in fleas. We had to flea treat everybody. The ones that were sick need to go on antibiotics. I'm sure, and I think I told you, Mary, I think we're definitely going over the $2,000 mark. So it'd be nice to see if we can get some people to donate to help Mary with this.
You can count on me for 100.
Jim, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Well, I got some other people too. We could ask. We can, spread the word. I think.
Come on, other people calling. Come on, where's the city council members? Paul Camuso, come on. Let's donate to Mary and let's help these cats. Let's find homes for them too. A lot of them need homes. And
well, you can do a fundraiser. You can start doing a fundraiser on TV3, do next week, and call some people and say, listen, we're having a fundraiser. Can you donate some money? I call every politician. There's got to be about 30 people running for office. I called every one of them. Every one of them. Hit them up for 100.
Well, I'm definitely, and I think what we've got to do, Jim, is we've got to sit down, and I think I have to have a lot of volunteers start calling some of the new people that are coming in and running for city council. I really think that people that are out there, and you hear Mary's story, so many people don't know this story. And I asked Mary to come on the show for the educational reason to get a message out there. We need to let you know that there is help. Sadly, Rome wasn't built in a day. My God, if somebody called me tomorrow in the same situation, what would happen to all of those cats? They would all be euthanized because nobody can handle this type of stuff. It's just not fair. These cats are not asking to go through what they're going through. If they're at least spayed and neutered, we'll stop the multiplication of all of these poor cats that have to live outside. People don't realize.
The ordinance. It goes back to the ordinance, and it is important. I mean, this is a good example of how important it is.
It does. And people don't realize that the cats that are outside with all of these fleas, they're actually being eaten alive by the fleas. Strong anemia, and I mean, it's definitely, people just don't understand. A killer, an absolute killer for these cats, a slow death, a slow death. To ignore this is accepting the painful, excruciating death of an animal suffering outside.
Well,
so,
you keep up the good work, and we'll talk this week, okay?
You know I will, Jim. Thank you so much. And we got to do something with Storm and the cats.
Definitely.
Take care. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Anybody else? And thank you so much, Jim. Jim's made his first $100 pledge to help Mary's cause, okay? So actually, what we'll do, too, is I'll let people know if you put on the memo line, Mary, and you get a check over to Kitty Connection, you can actually, come to Pet Supply Plus, and we'll actually have you write that check out towards the to Kitty Connection and going right towards the bill. We have a caller. Hello?
Hello, Marie. It's John Murphy.
John, thank you so much for calling.
How are you?
John, I'm doing really good. Did you watch the show?
I did watch the show, and I have a quick question for Mary.
Go ahead, John.
Does she live in a part of Medford where there's a lot of college students, people that move in, move out, thus explaining people having pets and kind of be irresponsible, and then when they leave the poor animal there, and then not spayed, not neutered, and increasing numbers. So that was my question. If she lived near, let's say, Tufts University, or have a large student population.
Oh, yes, definitely. We live near Tufts, and we do have a lot of students that live in the houses now instead of the residents. That's why I say it's gotten so worse over the years.
Marie, is there any connection with animal organizations with universities where can there be any pressure on Tufts or?
Well, you know what, John?
Or at least education saying to these people, if you're going to have a pet, have it neutered. Some would take it when they leave, and
yeah, and you know
maybe
what,
it's naive
John?
in my part, but that's what I just wonder if that's an angle that's not explored properly.
You know, it definitely isn't, and it's because there just aren't enough people that can explore that. Definitely outreach to Tufts. I think this is where Carl Scortino can be a big help to us. Carl is actually, Tufts is his alma mater, so I think we could get some support from Carl. I did call Carl Scortino because this does cover his area, so I mean, and he's definitely interested. Carl is definitely an animal supporter.
Oh, good. Well, I also wanted to plug for anyone who, if they can take in an older cat or even a shy cat, they really, you're doing a really good thing by doing that, and the shy cats do blossom in time.
And
they may never be a lap cat, but they enjoy being around you, and they just really do. After a period or the introduction in the house, they really do begin to thrive, and it's just something to think about if you could take another pet in.
And that's that. Thank you so much, John. And John has always been kind-hearted to help the shy cat. That's actually how you and I first met, John.
Yes.
And what was that little boy's name? The orange.
Bing.
Pardon?
His name was Bing.
Bing. That was it. And you know, that was a cat that was. I was actually working on cleaning up a colony. And Bing was picked up outside, as I say, you know, why we need to help these cats, a cat that would have been suffering and dying. And I took him in. He had a severe upper respiratory infection. I nursed him back to health. He was going to get released. He came down with something else. Yeah. And then I nursed him through that. Then he came down with some sort of a skin disease. And I thought, I just can't put this cat outside. There has to, and he was so great with the kittens. And I says, there has to be some big-hearted animal person out there. I put Bing's picture in the newspaper with kittens, and John called, and I thought he was calling to adopt one of the kittens. And I said, will you take his friend with him? And you said, I'm not calling for one of the kittens. I'm calling to adopt the cat Bing. And that's how my friendship with John has started. And you've been great, John, because you took another cat. Bing sadly did die, and you took another shy cat that you had said has blossomed. So you can speak for experience.
Very much. Well, Marie, I want to say keep up with the good work, and I do want to thank Mary for being very brave and telling her story. And hopefully things can move forward with this ordinance, because I think it's definitely a much-needed thing for the city of Medford.
Yes. And, John, I hung in there as late as that city council meeting was going because I told all the city councilors that Mary was on. They represent the city of Medford, and Mary is a taxpayer. I asked Mary, and those taxes are paid at that property. So she, she pays taxes in this city, and I hope that the city councilors are listening. Mary's problem is not the only problem out there. And I'm hoping that through Mary, as you said, John, we have to be so thankful that she was brave enough. Not a lot of people would come out and do what Mary did.
What she did was a very, very brave thing, and I commend her. And hopefully other people will come forward, too, and hopefully this will serve as a catalyst to get this ordinance.
Absolutely, John.
Well, Marie, thank you so much, and thank you, Mary, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Can we try calling Mark Arena? Okay, we're going to try calling Mark. Again, I did talk to Mark. Mark is somebody else that I'm going to be contacting, because him being a new city council member, I wanted to, I sent him all of the stuff about the ordinance because he wasn't on the council when I brought the action plan and everything. And I did talk to him, Mary. I actually gave you Mark's number, Brianna's number, and you did call and reach out to them. And they both did call me because they were concerned what you were going through. Oh, Mark, Mark is at his children's. Hey, Mark, it's Marie. We're on the Pet Network, and I know that you're probably still at one of the kids' games, and I forgot that when I said let's call Mark. I know that we were talking. I hope you'll watch. You can watch the rerun of the show. We are so fortunate that Mary came on the show to be able to tell people in our city, and hopefully other cities that will watch this, because Kitty Connection will put this show on our website. This is so important because it's how people can want to help animals and get so caught up in how many will come to feed and how fast the reproduction will continue to go on. Remember, that mother cat can get pregnant and reproduce every 60 days. Her offspring can reproduce as young as 4 to 5 months, okay? And that little 5-month-old kitten that's having a litter certainly sometimes can't handle it. And that's a painful, painful way for this poor baby to die out there. Okay, everybody, we're getting ready to, we're actually going to go on for a little bit longer. So, because our callers are calling in, and because everybody feels that this is really great. Mary, you're getting a lot of support, and I can't thank you enough. When I asked Mary to come on the show, Mary, I said to you, Mary, I think even when I talked to Brianna, and I think everybody at City Hall has said, you are so cooperative. I think if more people were cooperative like you, Mary, a lot of the problems that we run into, city officials have to deal with, would be rectified so easy. Because you were, even if I had a 10th of the people that I have to deal with the animal rescue, that were as helpful and cooperative as you, I don't know what we would have done and what would have happened to these cats, Mary, if you could not have financially supported this. This is how many of them would have lost their life, because basically what's left is euthanasia. It's why sometimes organizations have to euthanize some of the sicker ones, because there just isn't the money to put into sick animals.
Oh, I know.
So it's definitely, the small organizations really need your support. Please, if you'd like to help Mary's big vet bill that's going to be arriving next week, please come and help financially. You can make a donation to help Mary. We have many, many cats that are looking for homes. Some are on our website. Different people have taken them and are holding them. Mary loves them dearly. She's done what she could to give them a better life. So we're hoping that wasn't all in vain, and that we can find them a forever home. And when I did ask you to come on the show, Mary, for educational purposes, to support and make the people of Medford, anybody out there that has their doubts about how important an ordinance can be, you've done it. Let's give Brianna Lungo a call. Brianna is so supportive. I think, if anything, I want to call Brianna and just let everybody out there know that she's very supportive, completely compassionate, really very compassionate to what you were going through, Mary. So I do want you to know that. And Mike, if you're watching the show, please feel free to call us. We'd love to chat with you. We definitely have to discuss TNR, and I hope that we can change your mind.
Hi, you've reached Dave, Brianna, and Bailey. Thanks for calling. Please leave a message, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Have a great day.
Hi, Brianna. It's Marie calling from the Pet Network. Wanted to give you a call. Want to thank you so much for always being so helpful to Kitty Connection. And yes. Oh, Brianna.
How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for picking up. Brianna, we're doing the Pet Network, obviously, and I've got Mary on the show, and I'm really thankful that Mary came on to share her story so that other people out in Medford and wherever, when we put this on our website, will see how easy it is to end up with so many cats in your home, and the importance and the need of being able to do something to prevent this from happening, and how important an ordinance could be in situations like this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's unfortunate. I think you had mentioned she didn't live in the house. She lived in Woburn, so especially when you're not living in a home and you're just kind of trying to take care of other family members, it can multiply, but cats can multiply before you know it.
Yes. And Brianna, I don't know if you were watching the show or if you can watch some of the reruns to see some of the pictures that Mary was gracious to let us take of the house. And sometimes, you know, that maybe the obvious was there, and, you know, maybe I think that it would be nice for Mary, and I don't know if that's something that can be done, is to understand even this whole process, in a learning process even for myself, why something like this wasn't recognized that something was wrong a lot sooner, and why this house was left in this array. Because even when you look at the outside structure, if somebody walked inside and in the backyard and saw this blue top, if I walked in the backyard, would have known that animals, number one, cats, had to be going in this house. And sometimes this is sad, and this is where I feel the outreach and the educational part of one of the things that I wanted to do is to be going and knocking on people's doors. And if I had knocked on Mary's door and had said and been able to offer help, that maybe Mary would not have had to go through the distress that she's been going through the past 2 weeks. Is there anything that we can do to make how some of the matters are being dealt with city officials less stressful on people?
Well, I think that the city officials handle it in a way that they just are doing what the laws tell them they can do to try to clean up the house, make neighbors happy with what's going on with the situation. I mean, I don't know that particular situation exactly what. Sorry, the echo in the background kind of throws me off. I can hear my voice echoing. I just think that it's somehow the Kitty Connection and yourself and the city administrators can better work together. I think what you're doing is a wonderful thing, what your organization does. I mean, you have volunteers that donate hundreds of hours of their time to help out people in these types of situations. And then you have the city end that is trying to do everything to make sure everything's up to code, health-wise, building codes. I mean, so somehow you guys can work together to better a situation rather than kind of, I think there's just a pull for some reason.
Right, absolutely. And sometimes I feel that as hard as you know, a lot of the volunteers with Kitty Connection try to work towards better communication, and I think that was coming up so many times at the city council. I think half the problem is that there's just a lack of communication. Sometimes, you know, even when there are different problems, maybe if a mediator is necessary, but I think if more people could communicate, work together, that we could get so much more positive stuff done in the city of Medford.
I agree, and I think maybe we need to start from square one. I had spoken to you about possibly setting up you said you were going to set up a meeting with some of the city officials, and I think that's probably the way that I think we need to start from scratch and do that.
Right.
And figure out a way that everybody can work together, where nobody steps on anybody's toes.
Yes.
You know, everybody can do what they need to do with the respect of each other.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? I feel like people are butting heads, and things are getting worse and worse and worse. Where if we just stop it now and see how you and your organization and then the health department and the building department, Pat Hogan can work together.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, 'cause what you're doing is great, but what they're doing is they're trying to, abide by the laws of the community and try to, I don't know, it's just a hard situation.
It is, and the sad part is, when I think 15 years ago when I was getting involved in animal rescue, if somebody told me that I was involved in a criminal situation and that, I was going to be charged in a felony, I'm sure it would be intimidating having a city official and somebody that has authority saying something like that to me. And it's sad because of the fact that, when you think of how many laws are broken, and here I am trying to help somebody, that myself and 2 volunteers could be charged with a felony when we've donated how many hours to try and rectify a situation. So I hope that we can really establish better communication.
Yeah, I think we need to, like you said, I think we need to definitely set up a meeting, and even if it's one department head at a time, just sit down and see how you and the department head or the city as a whole can work together.
Absolutely. And
we value what you do for the community. I mean, what would happen to 75 cats or however many cats are in a certain situation, and, they're the innocent animals that didn't choose that, and what you're doing is trying to help not only the homeowner, or you're trying to help educate, but you're trying to save the lives of these cats before they have to be put down.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate your support, Brianna. You've really been there through a lot of thick and thin, and we definitely appreciate it. And hopefully we can, as one of the callers had talked about, maybe with Carl's assistance, kind of try to get some sort of a connection with Tufts, so that maybe when they're doing some of their orientations that they can let students know about, having pets. Again, sometimes, if I know when we say no to something, it makes people sneak animals in, but sometimes you can turn around and say yes, but you can't have your own pet. Maybe we have a local animal rescue group that you might be able to foster a pet, so you feel like you have a pet and you've helped an animal in the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So thank you so much, Brianna, for calling in.
Oh, no problem.
I'll definitely be in touch.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That is one of the first thing I said to John, the housing inspector, that he needed to educate, I believe it was him or maybe the animal control officer, need to educate the Tufts University college students about it. Because I know I've heard other people say, they'll start feeding them outside and they get them and they just leave them there once they leave school, go away for the summer. Yeah,
and it is sad. People do that when they go on vacation too. It's really sad. How many people take their dog for a drive and dump them in the woods? So it's scary and it's sad, and it's a lonely, painful death to be out there, because they just don't know. These indoor cats don't know how to survive out there. Eventually, they themselves sometimes become food for wildlife. Right. So it's, they don't know how to defend themselves. And, Mary, sometimes you have to look at a bad situation and see the good. And this was really a terrible situation for you, but you've really helped so many people in the community. And I hope you can open the eyes of the city councilors, any politician out there that is running for city council, to see how important it is to make animal issues a part of your campaign, and for Mike to really take another look at trap, neuter, and release.
Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly, really. That really needs to be done, especially around in South Medford. Really
Absolutely.
does.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for calling. Please, if you have any questions, you can call Kitty Connection at 781-393-9995. We are doing adoptions tomorrow at Pet Supply Plus. You can come and meet and greet many kittens and cats. Don't forget about Storm the dog. Check out our website, and thank you. And please donate towards Mary's vet bill. Please help us bring that bill down and adopt some of the kitties. Thank you, Mary.
Thank-